on how your IRA is set up. And this is something that we suggest that you get into and use some of the states where that have the higher interest rates for your long-term investment goals. It's just absolutely fantastic. And just understand when you're talking about this, and you see, and so this is okay. This is where you see some of the redemption periods, and you see they're 3 years or 4 years. Well, if you have a long-term interest-based strategy, well, a 2 or a 3 or a 4-year redemption period is not a negative thing. There's nothing wrong with the longer redemption period if what you are after primarily is an interest rate. And when we're talking about interest rates of 24, 25, and 36%, I mean, the dollars add up quite nicely when you're talking about making those types of interests on top of certificates that have come before it. Just remember, it's not totally passive because you're buying a tax lien certificate, you're putting the money in, then you have to wait out the redemption period, and then you take the money out, and then you put the money in, and then you take the money out, and you're going to want to do this inside of your self-directed IRA. All right, so, but it has to do with, okay, when you're talking about long-term, you're talking about the best way to do that is to build it tax-free. And that's why I like to use my short-term strategy for non-redemption and properties, and then that's the money that you may want to use for income, the money that you may want to use to buy cars or feed your family or whatever. That's your short-term strategy, and that's the stuff that you can use as your income money. And the other long-term, having the getting long-term interest. Use the redemption strategy for that, and you can use the longer redemption periods for that. So again, some people look at the state by state and they say, oh, this is a short term, this is a short redemption period, that's good. And some other states got a long redemption period. Well, that's bad. Well, no, it depends on what your strategy is. And if you have a long-term interest-based investment strategy, well then, a long redemption period is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, it can be preferred, right? So here's some of the states that are best for the long-term investments, and you see Illinois. Remember, 36%. I mean, these have some of the hits. Indiana is a wonderful one, and Iowa is great for that. Maryland, remember that between 6 and 24% in Maryland, depending on the county. This is where you want to park some money, okay, to get a long-term investment strategy out of these tax lien certificates. But remember, we can we can talk to us. We can help you decide which ones are right for you. But the ultimate decision is up to you. Florida at 18%. Can you imagine telling somebody that's, we're here at Trump University, we're down here on 40 Wall Street, and when we look at some of the players down here on Wall Street, if they were able to get 36% for their investors, these guys would have been on the cover of Fortune magazine, and not only can't they get 36%, they can't even get 10% for their investors. If they get 10%, they claim that it's low risk, but these have turned into very high risk investments on Wall Street. So these tax lien certificates are fantastically safe, and that's why we love them. And the combination of the safety with the high interest just absolutely can't be beat. And then you see, as I said, Florida 18%, and these others, Mississippi and Wyoming. It really rounds out some of these states that are the best for long-term investments based on the interest rates and the redemption periods. And again, these are this is what we're saying. Again, the final decision is up to you which states that you pick to invest in. Illinois with 36% a year, 24% for farmland, right? The redemption period is 2 years, and then you can apply for the deed, right? When you're talking long-term like this, you're talking about not chasing the property, not trying to buy a property, or even foreclosing so that you have a property. What you really are after is you're after the interest rate. but you can foreclose and get a property. There's nothing wrong with that. But primarily when you're talking long-term, you're talking getting these interest rates. And when you see something like 36%, that should just knock your socks off, because I still get excited over that. It's just listening to it, it can be boring, but just think about what 36% interest can do for you and your family, especially if you're talking about getting that on a tax-free basis. Indiana, 25% a year. I mean, that's a fantastic interest rate, okay? And you know, you look at this and you say, long-term, 25%, redemption period, 1 year. It's just fantastic. Again, it doesn't mean that every property that you get is going to redeem. Some of them might not redeem. Uh-oh, what a problem to have, a property that doesn't redeem, and then all of a sudden you get the house, you get the piece of real estate. Uh-oh, and then you get a windfall property. So if that happened in Indiana, so you wouldn't get the 25%, but you're going to get a property for 5 or 10 cents on the dollar. So no matter what, it's a total win, and that's the way to do this. It's a nice, relaxed way to build generational wealth. But again, it all starts with that first step of knowing what to do and then executing it, meaning buying a tax lien certificate. Iowa, 24% a year. That happens to be a fantastic rate of return. Redemption period 1.75%. Again, Iowa has the problem for me with the percentage of ownership. I don't particularly like that, but it happens to be a fantastic state for getting here you have a 24% interest rate. That's a wonderful interest rate. Maryland. When you consider, some of the counties, on the higher end, when you're getting 24% a year, that is totally huge. And here's the thing. What I love about tax lien investing is that it's a no-drama way to build wealth. You see, you're dealing with professionals here at Trump University, and you're dealing then with, when you learn how to do this, you're dealing with people that work for a municipality. So this really becomes sort of a business-to-business transaction. You're not dealing with necessarily somebody that's in their home and that you're negotiating with them, that these are the things that you have to do in regular real estate transactions. You have to deal with people. You're presenting them with organized facts so that you can negotiate a proper purchase price and then negotiate a proper sell price with a buyer on the other side. So you've got a seller on one side of you and a buyer on the other side of you. With this, all you have to do is continue to buy financial instruments from these counties without having to have a lot of kitchen table conversations and that sort of thing. I love doing this. And I think everybody should move into this as quickly as possible. So again, this becomes more of a business to business. So even though, and I want you guys to know, even though you're dealing with a county or a municipality that might be across the country, a totally different part of the country, it's not like you're trying to contact a homeowner that's on the other side of the country. When you talk to, other people in your family about this, you say, well, what do you mean? You're going to start, talking to people that are in Maryland? We live in Utah. It doesn't make a difference. And the thing is, and the reason why it's okay to do business across state lines like this with properties that are so far away is that you're not buying the properties outright, so you don't have a management headache. And at the same time, what you're doing is creating that generational wealth for you and for your family. Florida, an interest rate of 18%, 1.5% a month. Its redemption period is 2 years, right? You can claim the deed in a 2-year period. This is a great state for long-term. There are some great short-term possibilities in Florida as well. But Florida's done quite a lot with opening up their system for online. in Orange and Miami-Dade counties. It's just one of the great places that seems to really be with it, and there's a lot of potential in Florida as well. A lot of people moving to Florida. It's one of the states that was very hard hit in the mortgage crisis, so a lot of foreclosures. But at the same time, you've got catalysts. I mean, meaning you have Disney World there. You have a lot of industry there. You have a lot of people that have moved there because they want to move there. They want to live there, and so it's a great place to be, doing the tax lien business. Mississippi. Interest rate 18%. I mean, 18% long term. Come on. I mean, that's really fantastic. So Mississippi happens to be a great candidate for building a long-term portfolio. And again, when you look at these things, just keep thinking, self-directed IRA. What would it be like to be getting 18% or 24% or 36% in my self-directed IRA? Wow. Okay, it's just phenomenal, and very proud of you guys to be doing this at this time of the year, at the beginning of the year, when it's resolution time, and many of you I know have made the resolution to begin to become wealthy in '09. Well, this is the way to satisfy that, but also in a very non-risky way, very safe way. Wyoming, interest rate 18% a year. Also, this is, nothing wrong with 18%. Redemption period 4 years. When you see something like this and you say, okay, well, that's 4-year redemption period. I don't like 4 years. It's too long a period of time. Well, if you have a long-term investment strategy that really is mostly interested in getting interest on your principal or interest on your investment, as opposed to an acquisition strategy where what you're looking for is a windfall profit, then Wyoming or any of these places, even if the redemption period is 4 years, happens to fit into that category beautifully, right? 18% redemption period, 4 years. It's a nice, high, nice, good, solid, fat interest rate of 18%, and nobody can argue with that. Then, when we talk about some of the shorter-term spots, and where you can get high monthly interest rates plus a penalty, right, and the possibility of getting, turning around and getting the properties more, would be D.C., that's District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Indiana, in the Midwest. You've got Nevada. These are all great states for short-term interest and also short-term, on the acquisition. D.C. again, has this 1.5% a month. Redemption period is 6 months. So this you can get this money then in this 6-month period of time. You turn around, you get your interest in a 6-month period of time. So whereas you saw the other states, you saw 4 years, you're looking at this and it's 6 months. That's what I mean. That's what we're talking about when we say a great interest. Here's a great interest rate of 18%, but a very short redemption period, right? So that's what makes D.C. then very good on a short-term interest rate strategy. It also works for a short-term acquisition strategy. Nevada, 12% a year, 2 years. You can request the deed, okay, and understand that in all of these, we're talking about in that redemption period, at the end of the redemption period, then you will wind up either getting all of your money back with interest, all of your initial investment, which is your principal, with interest, and or if it does not redeem, then you can get the property. In this case, you just request the deed. Nevada, it's wonderful for short-term interest strategy and fantastic for a property acquisition strategy as well. New Jersey, the interest rate at 18%, a redemption period 2 years, and then you apply for the deed. This again, New Jersey, like Nevada, you have this, you have a good solid interest rate. Nevada 12%, New Jersey at 18%. Both having a 2-year redemption period, but that's a good period of time to be collecting interest, and at the same time, that's not too long to wait for a redemption period out for for an acquisition strategy. So here's the thing when we talk about this, and it has to do with just looking at what you want to do, right? I mean, it's all about your decision. Do you want a short-term interest strategy? Do you want a long-term interest strategy, right? If you want a short-term interest strategy, you buy, tax liens where the redemption periods are shorter. If you want a long-term interest strategy, you can buy tax liens where the redemption period is longer. Just understand that you're going to be getting these interest rates no matter what. Okay, that's the idea. As long as it redeems, you're going to be getting the interest rate. And then if it doesn't redeem, that means you're working. That's the acquisition mode. And there's nothing wrong if the property doesn't redeem, because then you wind up with the actual house, right? So short-term interest strategy, long-term interest strategy, and then an acquisition strategy. This was module 4, right? And then we're going to discuss in module number 5, we're going to discuss doing some online buying, so that you can be doing this from anywhere. When I say this tax lien certificate investing from anywhere that you have an internet connection. We're going to discuss that in module number 5.
We hope you've enjoyed this exciting presentation. For those of you who've not yet made the decision to leverage the power of a personal coach, let me say this: coaching is not for everyone. But I can tell you who the experts say coaching is for. According to the Harvard Business Review, those who get the most out of coaching are those who have a fierce desire to learn and grow. If that sounds